T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're listening to the Twisted 10, bringing you original and unique, host-created top 10 lists, recorded live in world-famous Cocoa Beach, Florida, with hosts Tach Van Sickle and Adam Poston.
All right, welcome to the Twisted 10. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Adam. Sitting across from me is...
I am Tach. What's up?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a week, man. It's been a week.
It sure has.
It was Easter week, too.
That's true.
We don't always release these on the same week that we record them. We sometimes stage them out a little bit, but yeah, it was Easter.
Yeah.
Did you have a good Easter?
Yeah, it was good. I had 2 out of 3 of my kids, so we had a good day. Just a lazy Sunday.
Would you have one of the girls and the boy?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. How about you? What'd you guys do?
Well, my girlfriend Andrea and I went over to my folks. Well, we didn't. So the Easter Bunny came here. Andrea's daughter's 10.
Right.
So the Easter Bunny came here, hid some eggs in the house because it was raining in the morning, and then did the Easter baskets and stuff here. Then we headed over to my folks' place for a big Easter lunch and did an Easter egg hunt over there. My parents do a cool tradition for kids. So when I was with my ex-wife, she had 3 kids that I helped raise for 10 years, and they were all young at the time. One of them, the oldest one's 21 now, so they don't really do this stuff anymore. My parents always have done a scavenger hunt for kids. And what it is clues and riddles and actions and like activities and shit that you have to do, and it leads from one place to the other in their property. So one would be, I don't know, they would give you a riddle, and the answer to the riddle would lead you to where the next clue would be found or buried or hidden or something like that. One year they had the clue at the bottom of the pool, so the kids had to either figure out how to get it out with a net or just go diving. So, of course, the kids jumped in the pool.
Right.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was unique. Let's put it that way.
And my mom did stuff like that growing up, too, so I've done that with my kids as well. And we usually do it for my son. My daughter this year actually did something similar to it for him this year.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was like a little, hey, here's a clue to go find this, kind of a thing. So it was neat.
Yeah, that's cool. Scavenger hunt seemed to be taking over a lot of that stuff. I was trying my best to think, because, I mean, we're just talking, nonsense at this point about our week, but I was trying to think the best way I could try to segue Easter into my top 10 list this week, but I can't really, I don't know, Tach, I can't really segue that. It's too big of a jump.
Okay. I'm excited to hear what you got.
I wish I had some theme music to play for this. Maybe I'll insert in some later. But, Tach, I'm going to take you to a very, very dark place for this top 10 list.
What are you going to do to me?
So we have all ranges. Our top 10 lists have gone all over the place, from sexual fetishes to science experiments to IQ and intelligence to whatever. It's all religious practices. They're all over the place. So we hold nothing back on what we choose. It just happens to be whatever we're thinking of, that week when we're doing the prep work.
Yep.
So I'm taking you to a dark, dark place. Do you remember my clue?
What are you going to do with me there?
Oh, if it has to do with any of these top 10s, you do not want to know. Let me just put it that way. Okay. So do you remember my clue last week that I gave you?
I don't. Give me a refresher.
All right. So I did the German voice. 9.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
So which led into Hitler.
Right. And this made me think of Hitler.
So based on that clue, what do you think my list is?
Well, you did say something about it being morbid.
Yep.
That was another little clue.
Dark,
dark, morbid,
evil.
Hitler. Is that something to do with the Holocaust or something? Or
sort of. So, Tach, this week it is the top 10 worst villains in history. All right.
That's pretty cool.
The worst villains in history. And I've got some summaries of each one of these guys or girls. You don't know yet. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, we'll all fucking insert that at the beginning.
And I'm twiddling a mustache, by the way. So.
But I also have a bonus in here. I don't have a twist to it or anything. There's a bonus though. So this list of top 10 villains isn't, the internet's list. Of course, I did all my research online.
Right.
And you can find lots of these lists when you start doing your search. But I read through probably 50 different villains or bad guys throughout our history, or not just American history, but world history. And I picked the ones that stood out as the most bizarre, the oddest.
Gotcha.
The one, I will give you a hint, Hitler is part of this list. He kind of has to be.
Right.
Worst villains in history. Hitler's got to be in that list somewhere. So he's definitely in here, but he's not he's not in there because the internet says he should be. He's in there because of some of the things that I found out that he did. And I'm going to prep you now. Some of these things get into some dirty, nasty, horrific things that these guys have done. So listeners, beware. This is I'm not going to get too gruesome with it, but I'm going to use some examples of what some of these villains have done in history to earn them a spot on our list. So let's get right into it.
Is this going to be any particular order or no particular order?
It's an order for me. The order for me is definitely for the number 2 and number 1. So number 2 has a little bit of a comical twist to it. I think you'll like it. But number 1 is most people's list number 1, and it's not Hitler.
Gotcha.
So this guy is definitely a baddie based on how history tells his tales. And we know history is usually told by the victor. We understand that. In that case, I think you can't really hide some of the stuff this guy did. So let's hop right into this. So Tach, number 10.
Yeah, let's do this.
Does the name Vlad ring a bell to you?
Oh, yeah.
Vlad the Impaler.
Vladimir the Impaler.
Or Vlad, do you know what his last name actually was?
Dr. Acula?
That's correct. No, that is right. Vlad Dracula.
Dracula.
Yes. All right, so
Dracula.
Vlad was a prince of Wallachia or Wallachia. Look, I'm not a scholar. A total of 3 times in years 1448, 1456, and 1462. And then also again in 1476. He's best known for inspiring the Dracula legend. So he is where Dracula came from. In fact, one of the horrible things that he does, or rumored to have done, was drink the blood and eat the organs of his victims, of his people he tortured. So he's best known for inspiring Dracula, the cruel methods he used to torture and kill people, and how much he enjoyed killing people. His last name Dracula means, translation, little devil. So didn't know that when I was doing this research. The most common method he used to kill people was impalement. Right. Hence the name Vlad the Impaler. Vlad had a horse attached to each end of a victim's legs, and sharpened stake was gradually forced into the body. Now, but you understand something. This wasn't a pinpoint sharp stake. It was sharpened, but only like a rounded off end. He figured out after years of torture, if he had a pointed end, it would kill the victim too fast, and it was less painful. No. If he had a blunt end to the ends of these stakes, it would go in slower, and it would keep the victims alive from the pressure as opposed to the point.
Right.
A little bit of a creep.
This guy's nuts.
Vlad did not want the stake to be too sharp because the victim would die too soon and would not be as much fun to watch. Impalement was his favorite way of killing people, but not his only method. Vlad ordered people to be, you ready for this list? To be poisoned, blinded, strangled, hanged, decapitated, stabbed, disemboweled, skinned, exposed to extreme elements and animals, hacked, burned, boiled, roasted, nailed in the head, buried alive, and a few more that are just not nearly.
Didn't he
as fun.
also go by Johnny Goodtime?
Yeah, this guy's a lot of fun. There were rumors that Vlad loved to drink the blood. Vlad's number, by the way. So all of these, I try to find a number of victims. Vlad killed over 100,000 people and was finally decapitated in 1476.
Why decapitated, man? They should have impaled him or something a little slower,
They figured it was the most humane way to get rid of him. So number 10 is Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Dracula.
Didn't he also bake cookies?
Yeah, but his cookies were baked with the liver and fava beans. So.
Did you ever see that movie? Horton Hears the one with Jim Carrey and
is that the elephant-looking thing, or
yeah,
I remember seeing that.
Oh, okay. But it was just a funny bit in there where they were talking about how this guy Vlad was coming to find the elephant. He's like, "Which Vlad is it? Is the one that bakes the cookies?" He's like, "Yeah, Horton. They're saying Vlad, the bunny that bakes the cookies." No, it was Bad Vlad. It was Vlad. The vulture.
Huh? No, I have to go back and watch that again. I didn't catch that inference in the movie.
Is hilarious. I freaking love that movie.
All right, so number 9. Number 9 is the clue that I gave you last week. It's Mr. Adolf Hitler himself. So a couple of facts. Everybody probably knows these, but I'll go over them real quick. Hitler was the Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to his death in 1945. When Germany surrendered in World War I, Hitler thought it was because of the Jews. He believed the Jews were the cause of Germany's problems, and also believed that the Jews did not count as human beings. His plans were to eliminate every Jew in Europe and to gain world control. So, a little bit of a Napoleon-style complex. Napoleon's not part of my list, by the way.
Right.
I'm not going to go into too much detail on Hitler. I just think he's notable for this, list because he is one of the worst guys in history.
It's kind of funny. There's a buddy of mine at work. I guess he had watched, there's this few videos online where this woman actually goes and I don't know if she wrote a book or what, but she goes around and she does these speeches, and she talks about Hitler. I don't know if she has like experience or if she's like German. Or I'm not sure. She talks about Hitler, like the actual Hitler that not everybody knew about.
Yeah.
Like his actual, like when he first gained power, when he first started out, he was a good leader apparently. And that's how he got his following. Like he actually did a good job and people loved him. And then he slowly went to the dark side.
We talked about this in another episode. I don't remember if it was of Twisted Ten or Living Podcariously. I mentioned it. Hitler was he was the first political world leader to do an anti-smoking campaign. The very first. And then he also did huge movements look, I'm not condoning him, but he did huge movements in Germany to do away with any kind of animal cruelty. So he was a big advocate. He got a lot of supporters because of some of those things. Yes.
Yeah.
And then he fucked it all up a few years later.
Yeah. It wasn't until the end is where he kind of went a little nuts and kind of, but he said the first several years he did a really good job. Had a lot of people, everybody loved him and thought he was a great leader.
A couple more facts about Hitler. Hitler himself was responsible for the deaths of more than 11 million people. That includes 5,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, 15,000 homosexuals, 100,000 Freemasons, which I didn't know that. I didn't know Hitler was after the Freemasons.
Well, does that mean that he was after them, or is that just part of the list of the dead?
I guess that's a good point. That Freemasons could have been part of the Jewish population that he was killing at the time. I don't know. I didn't do that much research into it. 100,000 mentally ill. I laugh, but that's insensitive of me, but it's still a statistic. 500,000 gypsies, 750,000 slaves, 3 million non-Jewish Poles, 3 million Russians, and 6 million Jews. So no, I guess the 100,000 Freemasons is not part of that, according to these references that I found online. Just the scientific experiments alone killed 300,000 people. Just those weird, exotic, Auschwitz-style experiments they were doing. Jews specifically died from gas chambers, crematories, firing squads, lethal injections, forced labor, starvation, poison, exposure, disease, which is kind of common, execution, death marches, and medical experiments. Here's a really interesting statistic, and I'll get off Hitler. More than 90% of Poland's Jews were killed. 90% of Poland's Jews at the time were killed. Yeah, quite interesting. That's cool. Number 8 on the top 10 worst villains in history. And again, this isn't just American history. Obviously it's not, but it's in history of, recorded time of man.
Yep.
Really? Really? Let go.
You're the one that got him to play with it.
All right, so number 8.
Oh, jeez.
That was a little loud.
It scared me.
All right, so number 8 is Ivan the Terrible. Do you know anything about Ivan the Terrible?
I actually don't. I don't really know much of anything.
Yeah, a lot of these I didn't know very much about either until I started doing this really bizarre research. I'm sure the FBI has got a really interesting file on me and you now from the research we're doing for our Twisted 10 lists.
So how terrible is Ivan?
All right, so let's go over this. Ivan was the Tsar of Russia from 15... No, it's fine. Ivan was the Tsar of Russia from 1533 to 1584. Ivan was a cruel, brutal, and merciless leader, but also as a kid. When he was young, he had habits of taking creatures like dogs, cats, bears, and other creatures to the tops of buildings and throwing them to the ground.
Good Lord.
If you remember, some of the serial killers in the U.S. history started off with killing animals and abusing animals. Yeah. So right there, hey, he started off the same way. Mm-hmm. When Ivan became Tsar of Russia, he became paranoid and started to see enemies everywhere. Ivan forced thousands of people to move from their lands and made them all homeless. Hundreds of thousands of people, excuse me. Goddamn dog. Fuck.
Squeaky, squeaky, squeak, squeak.
Ivan destroyed hundreds of villages, towns, and cities. In the Novgorod massacre, 60,000 people were tortured to death. Ivan had his own personal torture chamber. He tortured hundreds of families together at the same time, which was unbelievably cruel. Ivan ordered hundreds of people to be eaten by bears and wolves. So he had his own little collection of bears and wolves, like his own private little zoo, and he would throw his torture victims in there to be eaten by him. If Ivan ordered someone to be killed, he would often watch the execution, which probably took up a lot of his time. Some of his executions were as long as 15 hours. So he enjoyed the torture stuff. He enjoyed seeing people's blood and suffering from being tortured. That was the actual quote. Ivan ordered people to be beheaded, strangled, hanged, blinded, burned, stabbed, boiled. Again, these are similar traits of these political leaders that have gone amok. Buried alive, impaled, and this is an interesting one, and fried. Think a deep fry, like
Lord.
Kentucky Fried Chicken style. I mean,
Right.
what the? I don't get it. Ivan would often remove people's ribs with red hot pincers. Peasant girls were often tortured, whipped, raped, and used for target practice. Religious leaders were tortured and killed if they begged Ivan to stop his killings. Just if they begged them to stop, have some mercy. He blinded his architect and boiled his treasurer. Ivan killed one of his wives a day after their marriage. So the day after. You think she didn't put out? You think that's what happened? They didn't consummate the marriage, so he
Where are you off to, Ivan? Well, I got some torturing I gotta go do. You always do. It's our wedding day. You can't go and do it. And then he said, "Listen here, woman."
Yeah, that's a backhand you don't want to receive. He even killed his favorite son in rage, in a fit of rage. His favorite son. Ivan died. How do you think Ivan died? Ivan's terrible. How do you think he died?
Let's see. He probably died like in his 90s in his sleep on his deathbed. I don't know.
He died in 1584 while playing a game of chess. It was later assumed he was poisoned, but he fell right over from playing chess. So, all right, moving on. Number 7, or should I say numero siete? Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Numero siete. Thomas de Torquemada. Oh, goddamn, I'm horrible at these. It's Tomas de Torquemada. So Torquemada, whatever. Torquemada was the Grand Inquisitor of Spain from 1483 to 1498. All right, he started the Spanish Inquisition. He was the one who originated it. That, by the way, the Spanish Inquisition lasted till 1834. Kind of a long run, 400 years. Kind of a long run for the Inquisition.
Huh.
Torquemada, without lack of evidence, would order Jews to be tortured or killed just because of the discrimination he had towards them. So again, somebody who didn't like Jews. Countless of people were tortured, whipped, subjected to physical punishments, forced to surrender all their property. Children sometimes died just from starvation because he wouldn't feed his own citizens. People were often naked when they were tortured. Torquemada favored many forms of torture like foot roasting.
Oh, yeah.
And suffocation. People were sometimes burned alive, hanged, or grilled.
Grilled now.
Some ways of torture often went through sexual organs.
Wait, what?
Yep. Through sexual organs. So
Gotcha.
Instead of it being called a Prince Albert, shouldn't it be called a Prince Torquemada? Whatever this guy's name is.
Tomas.
One of the ways to torture people was the garrucha. See if you can guess what a garrucha was. It's spelled Garrucha.
And what are we describing first?
Garrucha, a form of torture.
Garrucha. Was it a clue with the sexual organ?
Nope.
All right.
You've heard of this before. It's another famous way of torture. I'm trying to think of the other name for it, though. I can't think of it.
Is it where you touch guys' nipples and then make me watch?
Tach doesn't like his nipples touched, and he doesn't like watching men's nipples get touched.
Right.
No. So garrucha, there's another name for it, and when I say what it is, you'll probably come out with it right away.
Right.
Garrucha is when you pull a prisoner's arms and legs straight from their sockets.
Like drawn and quartered.
Drawn and quartered, yeah, that's it. Thank you. So yeah,
well,
he
that's
used to like
legs
that.
and arms is drawn and quartered.
Oh, okay. Another way of torturing Jews was the toka, a water torture, which was when water was forced down the victim's throat. Another method was the porto, used tight cords to stop bleeding from flowing. Okay, to stop blood from flowing. Some of this was translation stuff from another site. So you would literally, like you would do to like a lamb's tail or something like that to drop it off, he would torture somebody by cutting off circulation in a limb. So essentially like a tourniquet, but a permanent tourniquet. Permanent tourniquet. It's a cool band name.
Permanent tourniquet.
Some people were skinned from their head to their waist.
Yikes.
2,000 to 10,000 Jews suffered death by being burned on stakes, and more than 9,000 were punished by other methods. Many Jews died from starvation. One account, he killed over 30,000 people in one sitting. Torquemada's hatred for heretics influenced King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella to expel every Jew or Muslim that had not embraced Christianity, which was about 300,000 out of Spain.
Why do people hate the Jews so much?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it all ties back to religion. It's what it has to be.
Obviously it does.
Most of them have ancestors that have lived in Spain for centuries, by the way. It is said that Torquemada himself has Jewish in his blood.
Inquisitor of Spain, huh? So he was buddies with Christopher Columbus, huh?
98, yeah, that had been the right time. Well, maybe he influenced Christopher Columbus on how to handle the Indians when he came over here.
When you get out there, why don't you just rape some women for me, huh?
give them these blankets. You think Christopher Columbus and Tomás Torquemada sat down and have some beers and recanted on some of their tortures?
Were absolutely buddies.
Yeah, they were BFFs of the time.
He was like, dude, come with me, man. We're going to go around the world. He's nah, I can't. I got Jews to kill here, bro. And he was like, all right. Hey, but rape some women for me. All right?
High five.
Yeah. He's like, you know I fucking will, dude.
All right. So, number 6. Let's move on. Idi Amin. Have you ever heard of this guy?
Idi Amin. Yeah. Well, how do I know that name? Idi Amin.
Amin was the dictator of Uganda. Oh, fucking Oliver. The squeaking you hear in the background is the studio mascot, Oliver, our puppy. Amin was a dictator of Uganda from 1971 to 1979. So this is pretty recent, Tach. This isn't that long ago. Amin charmed and promised the world that he would bring peace and democracy to the people of his country. Instead, he turned Uganda into a poverty-stricken land patrolled by death squads. Amin was possibly the most brutal and merciless dictator of all time. His rule was characterized by human rights abuses, ethnic persecution, political repression, massacres, and the expulsion of 80,000 Asians from Uganda. Amin pitted his people and executed hundreds of thousands of his very own people. He pitied them. Amin was probably the most sadistic dictator of the 20th century. He would show executions on public television. Amin tortured and killed the country's soldiers, government officials, teachers, artists, doctors, journalists, engineers, politicians, police, photographers, lawyers, business people. It kind of didn't matter for this guy. He kind of just went after anybody that didn't see or agree with him. Amin's men tortured and killed people with sledgehammers while Amin kept the pictures for fun and amusement. You come over to my house, I got pictures up on my wall of my kids, whatever. You go over to this guy's house, he's got pictures of bludgeoned heads of his, torture victims.
Sure.
Pretty bad guy. Just gonna say. Fucking Oliver. God damn it.
It's all right.
Oh.
It's entertaining.
Amin often had his victims buried alive. Amin would give heads of his enemies to crocodiles.
He'd give head to crocodiles?
He has a little difficult.
You've got to be kidding me.
About 50,000 people died of disease, most of which were children. He would cut the flesh. A lot of this sounds like propaganda. It sounds like, something you would say about another world leader that's he's a bad guy. He lets his children die.
To scare the children of,
This is all in the history books. However, again, history is written by the victor. So, yes, I still believe it's all to be true.
If you don't do your homework, Idi Amin will come and get you in your sleep.
He also took a book right out of the pages of Vlad Dracula. He also was rumored to drink the blood of his victims. Amin mutilated one of his wives and had her limbs sewn upside down. Yeah, interesting.
Why?
Amin tortured and killed 300,000 to 500,000 Ugandans. They don't have a real accurate number on them. Amin was forced to exile in Saudi Arabia for the rest of his life. He lived another 25 years and died in 2003. This guy is not, that's not that long ago. That's pretty fucking recent.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to give you a bonus top 10, Tach. That was 10 through 6. I'm going to do a bonus top 10 as well. So before the break,
before the break,
these are total deaths by political leaders. All right. So these are the numbers of casualties or the numbers of murders that they've committed over the years. So I'm going to just start at 10 and work our way down to 6. So no real conversation about them. Just these are the numbers. Yakubu Gowon. I don't know details on these guys. I didn't look these guys up.
Gotcha.
1.1 million. Number 9, Mingitsu Hale Merriman. 1.5 million deaths.
Jeez.
Number 8, Kim Il-sung. 1.6 million deaths. Number 7, Pol Pot. I don't know if you know who that is. 1.7 million deaths. And number 6, Ismail Enver Pasha, 2.5 million deaths. So when we come back, you'll hear the 5 through 1 of the worst villains of Adam's list of all time, as well as the bonus top 10 with the number 5 to number 1. So thank you for listening, and we will be right back. check out our new sponsor, Last Drop Vape. They make a premium e-liquid line that is simply fantastic. I vape a lot and use Last Drop Vape's blueberry and strawberry cream. They also have a chocolate that is spot on.
All of Last Drop Vape's premium e-liquids are proudly made in the USA. Their e-juice is bottled in a clean, certified, laboratory using 100% FDA compliant machinery, meeting AEMSA standards and future FDA regulations.
Visit them at lastdropvape.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/lastdropvape.
If you are interested in becoming a distributor, you can contact them at their website under the wholesaler section.
Welcome back to the Twisted 10. This week is my week, and I picked the top 10 worst villains of all time. Perfect. Number 5 is Tach Van Sickle. No, I'm just kidding. So let's go on into it. Just as a recap, I'll just give the names of 10 through 6. 10 is Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Dracula. Number 9 is Hitler. 8 is Ivan the Terrible. 7 is Tomas de Torquemada. Number 6 is Idi Amin.
Number 5.
We're on number 5. Number 5, Leopold II of Belgium.
Leopold.
Have you ever heard of this guy?
No, just the name reminds me of that old Bugs Bunny with Leopold.
So Leopold II of Belgium was king of Belgium from 1865 to 1909. He ruled the Congo Free State, which was a private project from 1885 to 1908. The Congo Free State was 76 times larger than Belgium, so he had a landmass that was just ginormous. That doesn't make him evil, though.
No.
He is considered one of the greatest liars of all time because he fooled the entire world he was helping the Congo and the world believed him. Instead, he turned the country into a country ruled by forced labor. He was free to rule the Congo Free State as a personal domain. Leopold ruled about 20 million Congolese. Congolese?
I don't know.
Congolese?
He was a great liar? I think I was married to him, I think.
Nice. You too? I have one of those.
Yeah.
I have one of those in my history. Congolese were killed if they did not bring enough rubber. Hundreds of thousands of people had their hands, feet, and arms, heads, ears, and noses cut off and kept alive. Many villagers were burned, and the natives forced to flee into the jungle. Leopold's men raped, flogged, and ate the natives. Yes, ate the natives. More than 500,000 died from various diseases. A few million died of starvation. Leopold himself killed around 10 million Congolese, or 50% of the Congo's population at the time. Before Leopold acquired the Congo Free State, most African countries were free countries. But within 30 years after Leopold acquired the Congo Free State, all but 2 African countries were taken by European countries. He did all of this just to get more money. Leopold died in 1909. So another one that was relatively recent.
Yeah. You said he himself killed 50 million people?
Under his control. So some of them, 20 million. Under his control, hundreds of thousands, like 500,000 died of diseases. All right, so massive diseases. A few million died of just starvation, not having any food to eat or any water or anything. It was 10. Leopold and his entourage killed 10 million Congolese, or 50% of the Congo's population at the time. Not a good guy. Not a good guy at all. But the liar part is what I found intriguing. So he lied to the entire world, letting the world think that it was a free state. And then, of course, this is before any kind of real communications could happen. So he controlled all of the waterways. He controlled all of the communications in and out of the country. So the world thought that he was living this and dictating this country as a free state, when in fact it definitely was not. All right, so 4. I think 4 through 1 you're really going to enjoy, because I know that you've heard of all 4 of these. I know it. Well, I'll tell you what. Number 1 you might not have. Number 1 might be a mystery to you.
Oh, so what are we doing now? The other top half of the top 10?
No. This is just, I'm at number 4 now.
Oh, okay.
So number 5 was Leopold II of Belgium, of the worst villains of all time. Number 4, worst villains of all time, Attila the Hun.
Attila the Hun. Don't really know much about him, her.
It was a him.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely him. Think, so what movie was that? Night at the Museum.
It's just like Jabba the Hutt?
Or was that Genghis Khan? Oh. Who was the guy in Night at the Museum?
That was Genghis Khan.
That was Genghis Khan. Okay.
Yeah.
That's number 3. All right. All right. So Attila the Hun. Attila ruled the Huns from 434 to 453. He was a leader of the Hunnic Empire, which stretched from...
So that's only like, what, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's not too long. I mean, shit, that's before quitting time. He ruled the Hunnic Empire, which stretched from the Ural or Ural River to Germany. I don't know where the Ural River is, so don't even ask. And from the Baltic Sea to the Danube River. He was bloodthirsty, cruel, and...
Where's the Danube River?
You motherfucker. He was bloodthirsty, cruel, and a ruthless barbarian that was a lover of battle. He was a big-time warmonger. He loved going into battle. He wanted to destroy the Roman Empire and everyone in his way. If you were a citizen of Rome and begged for mercy, he would kill you. Just because you were a citizen of Rome. He was, let's put it this way, he was so destructive the people of the time thought he was a punishment from heaven. Not like from hell, but from heaven. His nickname was Attila, the Scourge of God. Tach, how would you like to have the nickname Tach, the Scourge of God?
It doesn't roll off the tongue well.
He rampaged Roman cities and may have killed up to hundreds of thousands of people. People were sometimes torn limb by limb. One time Attila found Saint Ursula, a perpetual virgin, and wanted to marry her. She refused, which made Attila angry, and he killed 11,000 of her companions. Damn. Talk about a Tinder left swipe nope retaliation there. No,
he
bitch.
said no? I'll kill all your friends.
I'll kill everybody in your town. Holy shit. It is said that he might have drunk a woman's blood. Urban legends. He ate 2 of his sons and killed his brother. Oh. Attila coughed up blood and died in 453. I wonder if that blood was of one of his sons. So yeah, Attila the Hun, kind of a gruesome motherfucker.
Yeah.
Not the nicest guy in the world.
Why is he trying to take on the Roman Empire? I mean, they were like the United States of their day.
Yeah, he didn't die from battle though. He died from just maybe a bad chicken wing or something. He coughed up blood.
Or a human bone.
How do you like your ribs? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 on the top 10 list of the most evil villains of all time.
Number 3.
Genghis Khan.
That guy was kind of a dick too, I think.
All of these guys are pretty much dicks, yes. You're going to love number 2, though. Number 2's got a funny twist to it.
You won't believe what number 2
You won't believe what happens next. All right, so Genghis Khan. He was Khan of Mongolian Empire from 1206 to 1227. Again, only a half-hour kind of rule guy. In that time, he conquered most of China and all the land through the Caspian Sea. He was ruthless, vengeful, cruel, and bloodthirsty. He and his army destroyed countless numbers of cities, soldiers, civilians, and children. No mercy at all, even for the kids. People were killed by having molten metal and silver poured into their eyes and ears. What the fuck?
Good Lord.
Of course, I kind of did see that on an episode of, what was that? The Dragons... the mother of dragons. Help me out here. What was the HBO maybe or not Netflix?
Are you talking about Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones, yes.
Oh,
Season 1, the brother had molten lead poured on him to kill him.
I don't know. I
Maybe
only
it
saw the
was
first
gold.
episode. That's all I've seen.
Really?
Yeah.
First episode was pretty good. You saw the girl getting out of the tub. Just saying, it was
Talking about
nice.
the blonde chick?
Yes.
I love her.
Yes.
Really, the only reason why it kept me interested in the
Yeah.
episode, and I was like, oh, she's gonna get naked? Oh,
Yep.
God.
All right, back to Khan, not the Wrath of Khan. Star Trek.
Megacon?
Megacon, no.
Megacon! Star Trek reference?
Women were sometimes raped in front of their families. Hundreds of thousands had their lives ruined. It's not really, I mean, you could claim Obama did the same thing. Hundreds of thousands of lives were ruined. Whatever. He would use people's human shields. Tens of thousands became his slaves. Genghis and his army killed 20 to 60 million people. 20 to 60 million people. That's like everybody in Florida and Georgia.
A lot of people.
It's a lot of fucking people. He killed 3/4 the population of the Iranian plateau, which was 10 to 15 million. He also killed his brother at age 13 because his brother had stolen something from him. What do you think he stole to earn his Genghis Khan to kill his own brother?
His iPod.
His fish.
His fish. That was my next guess.
Teach a man to fish and then fucking kill him. All right, got it. Genghis Khan once said the greatest happiness is to scatter your enemy, to drive him before you, to see his cities reduced to ashes, to see those who love him shrouded in tears, and to gather into your bosom his wife and daughters. Genghis Khan died of natural causes in 1227. What a douche.
Yeah.
All right. So number 2, I really like number 2 as my number 1, but I'm gonna go with it number 2 because number 1 is seriously the worst guy ever.
Okay.
Number 2.
Now, a question before you
Shoot.
say who it is. Are these all going to be like leaders or
Some sort of political faction
so
leader.
they're all
yes.
some sort of leaders? Okay.
Yep.
There's not going to be like just some serial killer.
No, I didn't. I thought about going the serial killer route, but then that was, look, when it got to political leaders and their atrocities and massacres that they've done, there was so many of them that it was hard to identify the difference between them and like a serial killer and what the serial killers might have done. I looked at them, but the sheer numbers of these guys and how they tortured their victims is what made me stick to that.
Gotcha.
Number 2 on the top 10 list of the most evil villains in history, Caligula.
Caligula.
Yes.
I don't know too much about this guy.
No, did you ever see the Hustler movie?
The what?
Hustler, baby.
Because I'm a hustler, baby.
It was I don't know if you told me this or maybe Ron. So Caligula from 84, I think is when it was produced, was a Hustler movie. So who's the CEO of Hustler or the head guy in Hustler?
Oh, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about, that guy.
Flynn.
Yeah, I don't remember his first name.
No, Larry Flint.
Flint, yeah, Larry Flint. They produced this movie Caligula based on this villain that I'm about to read you some details on. It was the only adult movie to ever be nominated for an Academy Award. It is definitely an adult movie. There's no question about that.
Maybe you have to check this movie out. And this is a Hustler movie?
Yes, it is well worth the watch. Now, it does give a great story as well.
The same people that brought you Barely Legal 18?
Yes, exactly.
The same people that brought you. Damn! I was gonna try to think of something funny. Like Foot Sluts 12.
Naughty Nuns 14. Yes.
I was gonna go like a rant like we did before any other time. Also, you can find that next to.
Yeah.
Is that also right next to the? That's when we just romancing the bone. Or whatever.
All right, so Caligula. Caligula was Rome's third emperor from AD 37 to AD 41. He was wild, extravagant, with a penchant for sexual...
What was the year?
AD 37 to AD 41.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha Delta. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, 80, 31. I'm like, is this the future? Is this BC? Like, wow. They were like really getting specific in there.
No, AD 37 to AD...
So... 37 to 41.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Not that long of a rule. Of course, I don't know if the years were exactly the same, whatever. So he was wild, extravagant, and with a penchant for sexual adventures. In his first 3 months in his reign of terror, over 160,000 animals were sacrificed in his honor. He later got a brain fever that made him mentally ill. I think this is kind of like on Waterboy.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the brain pain. What was the mother said in that one? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Caligula believed that he was a god. Under Caligula, the law became an instrument of torture. He believed prisoners should feel a painful death. He began to brutally murder for fun. He would kill opponents slowly and painfully over hours or days. He decapitated and strangled children. People were beaten with heavy chains, forced to attend their children's executions. People had their tongues cut off. Prisoners were fed to lions, panthers, bears. Oh my. One gladiator alone was beaten up for 2 days before he died. He sometimes ordered people to be killed by elephants. Fuck.
Like what? Do you have to box him?
I'll probably just get stomped on by him. His cruelty caused people to commit suicide. He demanded sex with a lot of women, including his 3 sisters. Freak. He would force husbands to give up their wives. Nice. Sawing people in half was one of his favorite things to do, which filleted the spine and spinal cord from the crotch to the chest. So you flip you upside down.
I get it. I've seen pictures and yeah.
So anyway, so essentially the movie is actually a really good depiction of some of the stuff that he did. And he even had what was it that they called it? Ron would know this one. He'd be yelling at me right now, but it was inside the big Coliseum. He'd have the death games where a prisoner would have to fight their way out of these things. And even built this one giant machine that he would move across. This is a real device, a contraption of execution. He would bury men up to their necks in the ground, and the ground was flat and leveled and everything like this. And this machine would come driving along, and it had these giant spinning blades, like helicopter blades. and it would just decapitate them and collect their heads inside this giant device. Yeah, just a brutal leader.
Good Lord.
All right. So let's wrap this thing up with number one.
Number one.
The number one on the list of the top 10 most evil people of all time. I love it. Mao Zedong.
Mao
Zedong. Maozedong. Have you ever heard of this guy?
Negative. Mao Zedong.
Yeah. I didn't hear about him until I started doing this research, but there is no
Was he
question.
in Caligula? Kind of sounds like he was.
Yeah, this guy's very recent.
Oh.
He's very recent, and the numbers, the pure numbers are what astonished me with this guy. Mao Zedong was a Chinese revolutionary, political theorist, and communist leader who led the People's Republic of China. His social programs, The Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, are two of the most ill-fated, poorly named initiatives ever. The first was an effort to rapidly industrialize China. His focus was on making China a premier exporter of steel, and asked everyone in the nation to do this. Not only was steel of little value at the time, but it was made from anything lying around. So as he would go to these houses and try to collect these people's steel, or have the government collect their steel, people would have these smelting pots and smelting setups in their backyards, and they would take anything that they had to try to smelt down. Well, essentially he was starting to kill people because he was making them smelt all of their steel, which included their cooking ware, any of the devices that they had in their house. Oh, by the way, his political reign was from 1949 to 1976. This is very recent. Very, very
recent.
It's
my lifetime.
Yes. He also had another movement called the 100 Flowers Movement. Mao asked people to come forth and tell him how he should better govern China. Well, this was actually a fucking catch-22. Intellectuals and liberals bid at the chance to tell him what they really thought and were encouraged by the Communist Party to do so. Come on in. Tell us how we can improve our political lead.
Suggestion box. Huh?
Yep. Then in a sudden change of heart, while they were telling them, he would kill all of the people that came in. The government persecuted 500,000 of them who were considered dangerous thinkers. So anybody who said against the way he led his country were killed. So his policies and political purges from 1949 to 1976 caused the death of up to how many million people, Tach? What do you think?
Let's see. 35 million.
35 is not a bad guess. Hitler was quote unquote 11 to 12 or something like that. I believe. Let me look. I have it on here. No, I'm sorry. Hitler was 17 million. Mao Zedong's death tolls were up to 78 million people. By far the largest death toll out of all of them that I researched. Out of them all.
So why is this one not considered like a Holocaust or genocide or
communist China? The information doesn't make it out. It's not as popular. You don't have the Jewish influence in the rest of the world, like the Chinese citizens aren't as influential in the rest of the world like the Jewish people were.
Huh.
So, all right. So let me give you the extra bonus top 10, 5 to 1.
All right.
These are total deaths by political leaders. Number one, I'm going to go ahead and tell you is Mao Zedong, the guy we just talked about, up to 78 million people. But number 5 is Hideki Tojo, 5 million deaths. Number 4 is Leopold II of Belgium, which we talked about earlier.
Yep.
15 million deaths. Adolf Hitler, 17 million. This guy, number 2, I should have put on this list, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to put too many that everyone knew already. Like Leopold II, you didn't know. Vlad, you kind of knew a little bit about. Stalin is number 2. So Joseph Stalin, 23 million deaths. Yes, he's a horrible guy. I'm not trying to say he's not. I'm not discrediting his horrific acts. But everybody, I don't want to say the top 10 that everybody already knows.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put some new interesting spins in there, so it was kind of an interesting.
No, that's cool.
And then, of course, number 1 on the most death toll is Mao Zedong, China.
Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong. That sounds like a rapper's name. You also son of Mao Zedong. All right, so that was the top 10 most evil villains of all time.
That was a good one. That was good. A lot of mustache twiddling going on with those guys.
Quite so.
Crazy.
But so do you have a kind of a teaser for us for next week?
I think so. I think this is what I'm going to go with. But we may also have a guest next week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I may not have to do mine. And I was hoping to get a teaser for a potential
from our guest. Maybe teaser just be MMA? Was that a good enough teaser?
No, I don't think it's going to be about MMA.
Okay.
MMA, but hopefully we'll have a couple guests next week. So we will.
Sounds good.
Out.
Yeah, I almost teased the political bad guys 2 weeks early because I didn't want to do it for. I had the one set up for last week that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right, whatever. All right, well, cool. Thanks for listening to us, guys. Check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/thetwisted10. We would love you. We would love it if you were to go to iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe.
Please.
Give us some 5 stars out there. It helps our downloads. It helps us getting higher up in the list of the new and noteworthy and all that shit. I don't really know how that matters yet, but I don't know. We'll figure that out.
I know, but we're new. We're little babies.
Yep,
and we're infant. It's an infant show, and we want to...
Homegrown for sure. So if you like the content of these shows, if you like how we do this, send your friends a little message or email or text or something. Say, hey, check out this show. My boys Tach and Adam are running it, and it's a lot of fun to listen to.
I've been getting some good feedback from some people saying the show is they enjoy it.
Yep, me too. I've already had a couple of our friends call me out on a few things that I've said, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. I'm not going to admit that, or not going to say that I'm smarter than anybody. I am perfectly willing to concede facts if I spew them wrong, and that could happen.
And
from time to time.
You can also contact us for now until we get a website. There's the twisted10@gmail.com for now.
So the twisted10@gmail.com.
The twisted10@gmail.com.
Sweet. Anybody that sends pics in, will say your name on the air. Just saying.
Yeah.
Good pics. Not you, Jimmy. Not you, buddy.
What about
I don't want to
Ron?
see. I don't want to see a dick pic, Jimmy. I'm just saying. No, I'm kidding. Anything else, man?
Not that I can think of. Just everybody have a great day and great week.
Cool. Yeah, if you guys like the content of this show and want something a little bit more rough and raw, go check out our other podcast that Tach and I produce. It's called the Living Podcariously Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, any of those places. And that can also be found at facebook.com/livingpodcariously.
Indeed, and we discuss sex, relationships, things like that.
Yep.
Anything that you want to know about or curious about but too afraid to ask. Things like that.
On that note, what's your name?
What's my name?
Yeah.
My name is Tach.
My name is Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong.
Rah, 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 rah.
And Dracula.
Thanks for listening, guys.
See ya.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're listening to the Twisted 10, bringing you original and unique, host-created top 10 lists, recorded live in world-famous Cocoa Beach, Florida, with hosts Tach Van Sickle and Adam Poston.
All right, welcome to the Twisted 10. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Adam. Sitting across from me is...
I am Tach. What's up?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a week, man. It's been a week.
It sure has.
It was Easter week, too.
That's true.
We don't always release these on the same week that we record them. We sometimes stage them out a little bit, but yeah, it was Easter.
Yeah.
Man, did you have a good Easter?
Yeah, it was good. I had 2 out of 3 of my kids, so we had a good day. Just a lazy Sunday.
Would you have one of the girls and the boy?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. How about you? What'd you guys do?
Well, my girlfriend Andrea and I went over to my folks. Well, we didn't. So the Easter Bunny came here. Andrea's daughter's 10.
Right.
So the Easter Bunny came here, hid some eggs in the house because it was raining in the morning, and then did the Easter baskets and stuff here. Then we headed over to my folks' place for a big Easter lunch and did an Easter egg hunt over there. My parents do a cool tradition for kids. So when it's in years 1448, 1456, and 1462, and then also again in 1476. He's best known for inspiring the Dracula legend. So he is where Dracula came from. In fact, one of the horrible things that he does, or rumored to have done, was drink the blood and eat the organs of his victims, of his people he tortured. So he's best known for inspiring Dracula, the cruel methods he used to torture and kill people, and how much he enjoyed killing people. His last name Dracula means, translation, little devil. So didn't know that when I was doing this research. The most common method he used to kill people was impalement.
Right.
Hence the name Vlad the Impaler. Vlad had a horse attached to each end of a victim's legs, and sharpened stake was gradually forced into the body. Now, But you understand something? This wasn't a pinpoint sharp stake. It was sharpened, but only like a rounded off end. He figured out after years of torture, if he had a pointed end, it would kill the victim too fast and it was less painful.
Yeah.
If he had a blunt end to the ends of these stakes, it would go in slower and it would keep the victims alive from the pressure as opposed to the point.
Right.
A little bit of a creep.
This guy's nuts.
Vlad did not want the stake to be too sharp because the victim would die too soon and would not be as much fun to watch. Impalement was his favorite way of killing people, but not his only method. Vlad ordered people to be, you ready for this list? To be poisoned, blinded, strangled, hanged, decapitated, stabbed, disemboweled, skinned, exposed to extreme elements and animals, hacked, burned, boiled, roasted, nailed in the head, buried alive, and a few more that are just not nearly. When I was with my ex-wife, she had 3 kids that I helped raise for 10 years, and they were all young at the time. One of them, the oldest one's 21 now, so they don't really do this stuff anymore. My parents always have done a scavenger hunt for kids. And what it is clues and riddles and actions and like activities and shit that you have to do, and it leads from one place to the other in their property. So one would be, I don't know, they would give you a riddle, and the answer to the riddle would lead you to where the next clue would be found or buried or hidden or something like that. One year they had the clue at the bottom of the pool, so the kids had to either figure out how to get it out with a net or just go diving. So of course the kids jumped in the pool.
Right.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was unique. Let's put it that way.
And my mom did stuff like that growing up too, so I've done that with my kids as well. And we usually do it for my son. My daughter this year actually did something similar to it for him this year.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was like a little, hey, here's a clue to go find this, kind of a thing. So it was neat.
Yeah, that's cool. Scavenger hunt seemed to be taking over a lot of that stuff. I was trying my best to think, because, I mean, we're just talking, nonsense at this point about our week, but I was trying to think the best way I could try to segue Easter into my top 10 list this week, but I can't really, I don't know, Tach, I can't really segue that. It's too big of a jump.
Okay. I'm excited to hear what you got.
I wish I had some theme music to play for this. Maybe I'll insert in some later. But, Tach, I'm going to take you to a very, very dark place for this top 10 list.
What are you going to do to me?
So we have all ranges. Our top 10 lists have gone all over the place, from sexual fetishes to science experiments to IQ and intelligence to whatever. It's all religious practices. They're all over the place. So we hold nothing back on what we choose. It just happens to be whatever we're thinking of, that week when we're doing the prep work.
Yeah.
So I'm taking you to a dark, dark place. Do you remember my clue?
What are you going to do with me there?
If it has to do with any of these top 10s, you do not want to know. Let me just put it that way. Okay. So do you remember my clue last week that I gave you?
I don't. Give me a refresher.
All right. So I did the German voice. 9.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so which led into Hitler.
Right. And this made me think of Hitler.
So based on that clue, what do you think my list is?
Well, you did say something about it being morbid.
Yep.
That was another little clue.
Dark,
dark, morbid,
evil.
Hitler. Does that have something to do with the Holocaust or something? Or
sort of. So, Tach, this week it is the top 10 worst villains in history. All right.
That's pretty cool.
The worst villains in history. And I've got some summaries of each one of these guys or girls. You don't know yet. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, we'll all fucking insert that at the beginning.
And I'm twiddling a mustache, by the way. So.
But I also have a bonus in here. I don't have a twist to it or anything. There's a bonus though. So this list of top 10 villains isn't, the internet's list. Of course, I did all my research online.
Right.
And you can find lots of these lists when you start doing your search. But I read through probably 50 different villains or bad guys throughout our history, or not just American history, but world history. And I picked the ones that stood out as the most bizarre, the oddest.
Gotcha.
The one, I will give you a hint, Hitler is part of this list. He kind of has to be.
Right.
Worst villains in history. Hitler's got to be in that list somewhere. So he's definitely in here, but he's not in there because the internet says he should be. He's in there because of some of the things that I found out that he did. And I'm going to prep you now. Some of these things get into some dirty, nasty, horrific things that these guys have done. So listeners, beware. This is I'm not going to get too gruesome with it, but I'm going to use some examples of what some of these villains have done in history to earn them a spot on our list. So let's get right into it.
Is this going to be any particular order or no particular order?
It's an order for me. The order for me is definitely for the number 2 and number 1. So number 2 has a little bit of a comical twist to it. I think you'll like it. But number 1 is most people's list number 1, and it's not Hitler.
Gotcha.
So this guy is definitely a baddie based on how history tells his tales. And we know history is usually told by the victor. We understand that. In that case, I think you can't really hide some of the stuff this guy did. So let's hop right into this. So Tach, number 10.
Yeah, let's do this.
Does the name Vlad ring a bell to you?
Oh, yeah.
Vlad the Impaler.
Vladimir the Impaler.
Or Vlad, do you know what his last name actually was?
Dr. Acula?
That's correct. No, that is right. Vlad Dracula.
Dracula.
Yes. All right, so
Dracula.
Vlad was a prince of Wallachia or Wallachia. Look, I'm not a scholar. A total of 3 times.